Yeah, same. I had to pause for a sec to make sure I wasn't like, welcome to episode 71.
We're the Disorganized Wizard Club.
I hope you guys like magic. Because boy, sure we do.
Welcome back to episode 71 of the Disorganized Wizard Club podcast. My name is Alex. I'm here as always with Adam
Hello.
and Cam.
What's up?
And we're a group of Ottawa-based players that play just about anything and everything we can qualify for. We talk about decks, tournament stories, just about anything to help you and ourselves get better at Magic.
Well, I think that we're going to have to make an addendum to anything and everything we can qualify for because Grand Prix Toronto is this weekend and we're basically, have gone to every single other Grand Prix Toronto for the last 5 or 6 years. The first time Alex and I ever traveled together was a Grand Prix for Toronto.
Yeah.
But we're not going to this one. So the addendum, I think, would have to be we'll travel and play just about anything and everything we can qualify for, so long as it's not a modern event.
No, just,
that costs like $100 to play in.
True. Yes.
Well, we could just add some legal disclaimer, right? Like everything and anything we can qualify for, all rights reserved.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah. I went and played Modern last night.
I went to play on Monday.
At the Wizards Tower. Great sponsor of this podcast, by the way.
Where do they ship singles?
To Canada and the US. Free shipping.
Yeah, check out their website at wizardtower.com.
Anyway, I went to play Modern at the Tower. It had been long enough, like we talked about last week.
Oh, yeah, I knew you were going to fall
where I had
for it.
forgotten about how miserable I was the last time I went and played Modern. This time, I wouldn't say I was miserable. I went 3-1. I played Tron.
But you made other people miserable.
I did make a few other people miserable, but it was fine. I have to say,
all in all, it was a
maybe,
resounding success.
maybe Modern isn't as bad as I remember it. I don't know.
Okay, so I said this last week, if you recall, that Modern at the store level is pretty. It's pretty good. It's close to good. Like if you accept your fate, like if you accept, or at least like you're in on the joke, like this is what I'm signing up for. Like really linear decks, like really linear strategies, and yada yada yada, whatever. Like it's not that bad. And then like the Pro Tour was this weekend, which we're going to spend some time talking about. But like it looked like a store level event to me.
How so?
There was just like a billion archetypes. People were just playing whatever they wanted, like for no rhyme or reason.
People forgetting to sideboard, like
the round 16 judge calls were just like wild.
I mean that is Modern as a whole, really.
Yeah. Like but historically at the Pro Tour, it's like the cream has risen to the top sort of thing. Or there's been a broken deck, or like one deck dominated. Like the last time, it was the Eldrazi Winter. The times before that was like Pod and Jund and Twin.
Yeah.
Like there's really defined format where like they're just kind of slaughtered. Whereas like the most played deck at this tournament actually didn't do very well in Swiss.
And the most played deck was
Humans, right?
Humans, yeah.
And it's like the majority of 6-win decks. Even Andrea Mangucci, who top 8'd with Humans, went 6-4 in Constructed. He was also a 6-win deck, but he went undefeated in Limited. He had a 6-0 Limited run. Same with Javier Dominguez, who went 5-1 in Limited. Like, the guys who top 8'd with the Humans decks did so on the back of limited performances. That deck, like, I don't think it's great, but it also kept Storm completely out of this tournament, which probably made some people happy.
Yeah. So, Humans, I said last week I thought Humans was primed to have a good tournament, and I mean, it put 2 copies of the deck in top 8, so I was right.
Yeah, asterisk.
Asterisk.
all rights reserved.
It had a good tournament in the sense that, it put 2 decks in top 8, but overall, the Humans decks didn't do too well. But it
had a good tournament in that it went 6-4 in top 8.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But I mean, we did see some really cool stuff come out of this weekend. I actually did really enjoy watching the Modern Pro Tour.
I had a really good time watching it.
Yeah.
Watching the Empty Boy deck, the Hollowed One deck.
The Empty Boy deck.
Empty Boy. Watching that deck was like hilarious. Like, funny.
Just people losing their minds in the quarterfinal match of him playing against Reed Duke, where he just played turn 1.
2 4/4s.
2 4/4s.
Into Gourmet Gangler on turn 2. Yeah.
Man, that was sweet.
It was hilarious. Like my buddy Dave and I were watching it together like on Discord, just laughing. Like spin to win, baby. Like But the thing is, I heard some people talking about the deck, and they're like, it's just sheer luck. It's not fair and all this. It's like, I mean, that guy played very well.
Oh yeah, there was a play in
That's his third top 8, like his Pro Tour top 8, and that guy always plays wacky decks. He's the guy a year ago at Pro Tour Shadows, I want to say.
no Pro Tour Aether Revolt.
It was
Aether Revolt. He played Bone Picker in his
he
deck.
played 4 Bone Picker. You're right. Yeah.
Isn't Bone Picker from Eminket?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
It was the one.
Oh.
It was. Yeah. It was that. It was that set. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Pro Tour Amicat.
Yeah.
And he played 4 Bone Picker in top 8 in green black Constrictor. And Bone Picker was never seen again in a constructed deck, but he top 8 with 4 in his main deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's wild. He always plays wacky decks. And like, he's a great player though. He's very good. And that deck isn't just some like, spin to win deck. That's not actually true. I think it's actually probably a lot more difficult to play than people realize. It has Faithful Saluting. It's not easy.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a pretty cool line of play he took to beat Reed Duke in the quarterfinals in the last game, where he had the win on board, but he played around.
Yeah, that was a very well.
That was wild. Yeah, I forgot about
with
that.
the big game Hunter.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen that play, go back and watch the final game against Reed Duke in the
in
quarterfinals.
game 5, yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
highlight of the top 8.
It was definitely highlight of the top 8 because like if you were watching that, everyone like chat, commentators, they're like, he has the win. Like, just I don't understand. Like, just go, right? And he's like tanking, and instead he finds a way to win through anything.
Yeah. And like halfway through him tanking, one of the commentators realizes what he's talking about or what he's thinking about.
He goes, because Big Game Hunter has to target.
Yeah.
So if he has a Fatal Push for his own Tarmogoyf, it'll kill his creature, like his Hollow One or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was like Angler or something, but yeah.
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 It was Angler because it couldn't Fatal Push it.
And I don't know, but I'd have to say match of the top 8, probably Jerry Thompson versus Pascal Viren.
The blue-red matchup?
The blue-red versus Mardu.
That matchup was wild.
That was nuts.
So actually, I also would like to say that just every time Jerry was on camera, like his matches were insanity.
Yeah.
He played like a god.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like Andrew, like very well, which is how you top 8 a Pro Tour.
Yeah.
You draw like a god and play like a god. Like you have to get very lucky and have to play very well. But there was the round 14 or 15 match we were watching where I was like, well, his only out is like Bedlam Reveler, and he has to play to that as his out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's immediately what he did. Like he just immediately played to it, drew it, won the game. And I was like, yeah, that was his only out. Like he played to it, like, found it, tapped low just so he could Faithful Saluting into it because it was his only way to win. Like, and he needed to Faithful Saluting into a Terminate, I think is what it was when we were talking. We're like, holy, that's exactly what happened. So yeah, he just played super well. Cool to see that deck do well. We should have had Pete on as a guest for the pre-Modern Pro Tour apparently though, because we would have looked even smarter.
Yeah.
Because
I
Pete,
guess so,
who has been on the show as a guest previously, has been singing the praises and like fanatically yelling about this Mardu deck that Jerry Thompson lost in the finals with at this Pro Tour. He's been like screaming at us basically like how good this deck is, that, Faithful Saluting is basically Brainstorm. He feels like he's playing a legacy deck and it's just not fair. Like the deck's insane. Jerry went undefeated in Swiss.
Yeah.
He went 3-3 limited and top 8 at a Pro Tour.
That doesn't happen often.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The deck was super sweet. Just watching him, like, this is a deck I could get behind. That would bring me back to Modern again. I would love to play this.
I don't
deck.
even think it's that expensive either. It's like a affordable Modern deck. It's very cheap.
Yeah.
It's probably like $300-$400 tops.
No,
if you already have the fetches, it's like,
well, if you already have the fetches, yeah.
No, but-
if you don't, it's like 7, I think.
oh, okay.
I was looking the other day.
That's cheap for Modern.
Yeah.
For like a grindy mid-range deck, I guess. That's very cheap.
Yep.
I own, and I think I mentioned this on the podcast, I own multiple foil Bedlam Revelers because I thought that they would be legacy playable. I still think there is eventually going to be a day where they might be. So I told my friend Dylan and I bought a bunch of foil copies, hashtag MTG Finance. And now I feel pretty good about it, even though I was wrong about legacy. So I played Modern this week as well, right? And man, I played against that deck and won. I was playing green-black like rock, just straight up, like no splash, just green-black rock. Easiest 4-0 in my life. But I played some for fun games against Pete playing the Mardu deck, the Jerry Thompson's list, and like, thank God I didn't play him in Swiss because that matchup is miserable because you just trade 1-for-1 removal spells. Like they're a rock deck, but the problem is when they draw an Inquisition late, they Faithless Looting is away.
Yeah.
Like a Thoughtseizer Inquisition is just an actual, like a different card because they have Brainstorm basically. Like I really shouldn't compare Faithless Looting to Brainstorm. Like we're just joking, right? Like everyone does that. But man, it just feels so bad being on the green-black side. Like you're just so much more fair than they are, but they're also a fair deck. And then the real nail in the coffin is they just top deck a Reveler.
Yeah.
Like a Bedlam Reveler and draw 3. And you're like, oh, yeah, you just played Treasure Cruise on a 3-4.
It's pretty good.
Oh, no. Like, I'm dead.
Yeah.
So it's like the perfect deck for it. I think that deck is super fun. Like, I played some games with it as well. That deck is, like, thrilling. Like, it's a lot of fun. It's interesting to play.
Let me tell you, though, like, I did want to see Jerry win another Pro Tour.
Me
but
too.
I am stoked that Lantern won.
Me too.
I am unbelievably stoked that
Yeah, we
Lantern
haven't even got
Control
to this yet.
won the Modern Pro Tour. Oh, my God. Hell
Also
yes.
have all the multiple copies of all the cards for that deck. When I worked at a card shop a few years ago, if you recall, I bought the minute I saw that deck, I bought the store out of like every piece of that deck because it was like, all right, this is hilarious. Like I'm gonna play it, but also like this is a wacky modern deck that actually just like won a GP.
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna go up and like it's either broken or something's going on. Like you know what I mean? Because that's how modern is. Like if something wins a GP like out of nowhere, that means something's up. Like
Yeah, well, I love how, like, in the couple shows we talked about this Modern Pro Tour throughout the past, like, months and bit. I think you said, you're like, something busted is going to win, or one of us said, something's busted is going to win this Pro Tour and people are going to be calling for bans. I mean, something busted, air quotes, and hilarious from our sense of view, won the Pro Tour and Lantern Control, a deck that everybody hates.
they either hate or love. Nobody is neutral on this deck at all.
So many people are calling for cards from Lantern to get banned. And it's not going to happen. I don't think they should. I think the deck's totally fine.
Of course. The deck's completely fine.
Yeah. But I love it. We're like, people are going to be screaming for bans after this Modern Pro Tour. Otherwise, the format would have been left alone. And what do you know? People are screaming for bans after the Modern Pro
Was there
Tour.
another Lantern deck in the 9 or 8 like wins or like in 8
yeah.
win- like no, but I mean like
I think-
this deck didn't crush this tournament.
Yeah, BBD had 8 wins in Modern with Lantern.
That's the only other one that had more than
I think
8
only
wins.
like 6 or 7 people played the deck.
Right, like like you call him for a ban when like someone won a Pro Tour, like
Yeah.
What like BBD made a joke, right? He like tweeted that thing that was like, "Oh, so if you win any Modern tournament with your deck, it's gonna get banned." Like, is that the new rule for Modern? Like, there's nothing wrong with Lantern. Like, it's just obnoxious for a lot of people to play against. It's just like not the magic they came to play. But like some other players feel that way about Ad Nauseam and Storm. Like a lot of people feel that way about Storm and Ad Nauseam.
I mean, the deck's not unbeatable. It's very beatable.
Oh yeah,
And-
people like if you have the sideboard cards for it, you will smash them.
Yeah. It's people are just upset because it's not an exciting deck to watch, which like I'll admit.
Oh yeah, it's like watching paint dry.
I skipped through every match covered of Lantern in the top 8. I didn't watch a single one, not even the finals. I'm like, I'm not watching it.
There was one pretty exciting moment where he, LSV, Luis Salvato, cracked a bauble and then on his upkeep drew a land with it and then was like frantically milling himself to try. There was like a bunch of lands in a row trying to not draw a land because then he couldn't get both cards out of his hand and he would have died. So it was like a thrilling 3 seconds. He managed to not draw a second land, in case anyone's wondering.
Well, considering he clean swept the finals,
Yeah.
like he 3-0'd. I don't know how many Colligan's Command Jerry had in his list. I think it was 3.
3.
Yeah. But that matchup, I don't think is great. Like you have a bunch of removal spells that are just dead. Like games 1 and 2, you're kind of just like with the Mardu deck versus Lantern, you're just useless. Like you just can't do anything. And then post board, you just kind of got to hope.
Game 3 of the finals, like there's a Lantern of Insight in play, so the top cards are being revealed, and Jerry like reveals a Molten Rain or some like random card that like isn't good in the matchup, and he's just like, yeah, I had nothing else to bring in. Like,
Right. Like I think he has a bunch of surgicals, and maybe that was his plan. Like Molten Rain, like I'm pretty sure his sideboard has 3 surgicals. Like maybe his plan was literally like, hey, maybe I get a Molten Rain, like tag his lands, and then I can like one of his like Botanical Sanctum, whatever he has 4 of, so he knows the list, right? And then maybe he can like kill enough artifacts that the Glimmer Voids get sacked. You know what I mean? Like I literally think that his game plan was probably that far out there. Like
I mean,
I'll try and do something crazy to take them off lands.
I don't know if it was even that. I think it's just these will have a target, and my fatal push, my terminates.
No, yeah,
my
of course.
won't,
But I'm
so,
saying like
yeah,
that is at least a game plan as
yeah.
opposed to having fatal push in your deck.
true.
Like, yeah. Like it's a horrible game plan, and we'll get to that later. But it is a game plan of, hey, maybe I can mana screw them. Like that's,
If you have 2 pyromancers and a fatal push, you can push a token and get 2 tokens.
true. That's
Not
just good.
completely dead.
That's just good rate.
Yep. 1 mana, 1 token. Sign me up.
So that the sweetest deck I think, apart from the Mardu deck though, in the top 8 was the Traverse Shadow deck.
Yeah.
That deck was sweet to watch. I thought that was like one of the funnest decks to watch. So like the one nice thing I will say about the Humans deck, even though I don't think it's good, I think it's actually secretly like quite bad. I think it's just a better fish deck. Like it's a Merfolk deck. It's disruption and pressure.
Yeah.
And super linear. But I don't think that's good. And I think that's why Reed Duke top 8'd. Like I think he went 8-1-1 in Modern. He was just out here smashing Humans decks. What did he do against Abzan? We watched it on coverage. They got smashed.
Yeah.
They got
Can't beat that deck.
smashed. Oh yeah. Same with the Mardu deck. Like they got smashed. Well, Humans could clock the Mardu deck pretty well actually, but the Abzan deck they had no chance.
Yeah.
No chance. Like that deck's just too clean, and you know what I mean? Like it just felt like so one-sided. So I don't think the Humans deck was secretly good, but it did do one thing of keeping the unfair decks out of this tournament.
Yeah.
They're just dead.
Yeah.
Right? Like Storm couldn't that many Humans decks like just can't beat Storm. Like Storm can't win a game.
Yeah.
You get paired against 2 Humans decks in a row, your tournament's over.
True.
Yeah. And then that's the same for Adnaz. Like someone was insane enough, I think it was Shaheen Surani, was insane enough to try and play Karklan Ironworks. Like,
Oh yeah.
what are you doing? Like, you can't beat Burn, first of all. Like he was on coverage playing Burn. It was just a joke. Like it's so pointless. I was just like in my head, like, why would you play this garbage deck? Like, it's funny in like queues on Moto, but like you're at a pro tour, man. Like, have some self-respect. Like
he was talking about it in the deck tech he did. And he made some comment about wanting to, you just got to do something totally busted unfair. I'm like, yeah, but what you're doing isn't even good against like the normal decks in Modern.
But all the decks in Modern are trying to do something busted unfair. You're just a worse version of busted unfair. Just because you cast Emrakul doesn't mean your deck's more busted or unfair. Like when you can never cast Emrakul and just die. That's such a like short-sighted, myopic way of looking at what's happening in the format. Like if you don't think the Humans deck is doing something unfair, you're out of your mind. Like looking at your hand, constantly knowing the information in your opponent's hand and meddling maging them while beating them down with a 1-mana 8/8 Champion of the Parish is pretty unfair.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a GP a while ago where Shaheen Surani and a bunch of other guys, it was like the breakout for Scrap Trawler Ironworks, and they like did really well with it, and they were on coverage a bunch.
I don't think anyone top-8'd with it though.
Oh, well, it seemed like it was doing better than expected. I just vaguely remember him having played that at a GP to some level of success, and maybe that was the last time he played Modern, so he just went with what's familiar.
What's funny though is like a blue-white control, Alex Magelton like didn't play Affinity, which that's not a good sign because that guy like only plays Affinity in Modern. But he had 9 wins. He went 9-1 in Modern with blue-white control, which was surprising because like I think blue-white control is awful. But like I always get tricked, and I said it even before last week on the podcast. I get tricked all the time by thinking like, these Jeskai control or like blue-white control decks are like pretty good in Modern. Actually, like wow, it's like doing pretty well. Like Paulo, like PV played Jeskai control. Like Ralph Levy played blue-white. Like, but they're bad.
Yeah,
they're just so bad. You get tricked into thinking they're good because they win like an SCG. I don't know, who knows how or why. But I played against blue-white control and Jeskai control this week, playing Modern, and I was like, "This is a joke. Like these decks are so bad." First of all, the blue-white deck can't beat Field of Ruin. Neither can the Jeskai one actually. I had 4 copies of Field of Ruin in my black-green deck. I was just like, nice colonnades, like get fatal pushed even if not. Yeah. They can't beat Planeswalkers. Like I just find it funny in Modern that it's this insanely powerful format where there's still no good answers to Planeswalkers. Like I resolve a Liliana and I'm like, whoa, this blue-white player's just dead. There's dead. There's nothing. Like the game's over because I resolved. Like, and I'm not behind. on board. Like the game's over. Cool, like nice deck. So don't play those decks. But he went 9-1. So this
What
is
do you know?
Right. What do I know? And this is what kind of cracks me up is he probably just got like spreading seized everyone's mana back to the Stone Age, really, because like blue white's a land destruction deck. But this, looking at like the results from Modern, I'm like, what did we learn? Nothing. Right? I feel like I learned nothing.
No.
I'm like, this is the most. I don't know. Like, I feel like I learned no lesson because I'm like watching and like, wow, blue white and Jeskai are just brutal. Like they're so bad. And like played Modern, I'm like, wow, these decks are garbage. And then I'm like, but like like anything can win in Modern. So like, somebody 9-1.
I mean, clearly it just demonstrates that Modern is in the perfect place right now. The correct things are banned. The correct things are unbanned. That anything can have success. Anybody can do well with anything. It's an open field.
Yeah, no,
Play
I
what
think
you like.
I
It's
actually
perfect format.
like after watching the Pro Tour, I totally think Modern's fine.
Okay, it's also like not completely wide open though, because it does depend on the meta. Because this like tournament didn't have Storm and Adnos and other decks like that because of humans.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like only a few bit of Burn who like did well. You know what I mean? Like an Affinity, because I think they have problems with certain decks that.
Yeah. But like I think there's a decent balance. Like, yeah, humans showed up a lot, but it didn't do like insanely well, even though it was such a big part of the metagame.
Right, like humans shaped the metagame more than kind of beating down the metagame. Like humans helped shape the meta of this Pro Tour, but didn't do well. And that's cool. Like that's a cool thing to happen, I think. Like I think this Modern Pro Tour was like very healthy. Like, man, we're just like eating crow over here. Like, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to Modern though, like we're obviously biased, but at the same time.
Yeah, no, I think Modern's fine. And I think I would enjoy the format a lot more if I had a deck to play other than Tron. Because like even last night playing, I'm like, man, this deck's just so miserable. I get why people hate it, but like being on, like when you're playing it, it's kind of fun to like make people miserable, etc.
Oh yeah, of course. That's the whole reason to play Lantern too.
Such a garbage deck, you know? It's just brainless. I'm like, play a Karn or play my Ugin.
Oh yeah.
Hope I win. That's it.
Do I win?
Like
2 IQ strats.
I miss the good old days though when I could use Eye of Ugin to get Emrakul.
Yeah. Or even Ulamogging people. That was awesome.
Rip Eye of Ugin.
Yeah, Big Daddy Mog, the Mog Squad.
That was back when the deck had decisions. Well, what big fatty am I going to search out with my Eye of Ugin to kill my opponent?
Do I get Emrakul or do I get Ulamog? It doesn't matter. They're dead.
Yeah. No. Like, don't get me wrong.
I like
Tron has a special place in my heart, but fuck, that deck is miserable, man.
You could probably put together like.
Honestly, I wish I had the Mardu deck together. I would probably play Modern every opportunity I could.
You could put that deck together for pretty cheap. You have to have the fetches, right?
I don't have Marsh Flats. I have Myers though.
I can lend you Marsh Flats.
Yeah.
Aren't they my Marsh Flats?
No.
Oh.
I have my own.
Oh. Unheard of.
Pretty sure we have 8.
Oh, okay.
I'm not missing too much from the deck. I have Thoughtseizes. I have 2 Kolaghan's commands.
Yeah, like
I have Lingering Souls. I have a stack of them.
yeah, you have the whole deck.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't have Revelers, but like
Copperline Gorge is kind of
I have
pricey.
1 Reveler. Oh no, I have 3 Blackleaf Cliffs.
Or sorry, not Copperline Gorge. Yeah, I meant Blackleaf Cliffs. My bad.
Yeah, I'm missing 1. I have 3.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Like
I think I have 1 as well.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
The deck is
Looks like we're playing Modern next week.
Yeah, the deck is like not that pricey. You probably have most of the pieces. The deck's pretty cheap for Modern. I also think most of the Snapcaster, like the non-Tarmogoyf decks, you can put together fairly easily as well if you have Snapcasters. Like a lot of the Grixis Shadows deck, apart from the Snapcaster mages, are like pretty affordable, apart from Thoughtseizes and Snaps. But like those are cards that if you were playing Standard for the last like 5 years, you have.
Yeah.
From Standard if you were smart and kept them.
So I have a question. The only white card in this Modern deck is in the main deck is Lingering Souls, right? I didn't really look at the sideboard, but like, why isn't it a Snapcaster deck? Like, is Lingering Souls actually doing something that no other blue card can do?
You don't
Like,
understand how busted Lingering Souls is, man.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm aware it's good, but
It's busted.
is it better than Snapcaster?
Yes.
In
this deck?
In this deck, yes, because of
Yes.
Faithful Saluting.
Yes.
Because it puts you up a card when you discard.
Yeah, okay.
It makes your Faithful Saluting so good. Like that alone makes it worth playing. Also, it shores up some of the weaknesses in the deck. All right, the deck's only playing 8 creatures.
Yeah, okay.
Got a chump block, man.
Like it's only playing 4 Young Pyro, 4 Bedlam Revelers. So
There's not even any white cards in the sideboard. I guess Wear Tear.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just need Lingering Souls.
Not even Stony Silence.
I mean, there's only one.
But I guess the
land in
affinity
deck.
matchup's got to be a joke, right? This deck can't lose to affinity.
You
There's
have
no way.
a Sacred Foundry. Like you're not.
It's
you're
a
not
black-red
really
deck.
Mardu. Yeah, you're black-red.
Yeah, exactly. So why not put in Steam Vents and some Snapcasters?
Yeah, like can this deck lose
No.
to affinity?
I don't think so. Probably. I mean, anything can lose to affinity, but
I mean, they have to get through your Lingering Souls and K command, 3 K commands.
Lingering Souls has famously always just been a beating for affinity.
yeah.
It's one of the worst cards as an affinity player to see. You're just like, oh god, like why? Just blinks my creature lands, my signal pass, like it's so obnoxious, so incredibly obnoxious. And then obviously like Call Against Command's on a whole nother level of beatdown for affinity decks. Like that just feels so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, this deck is great. It's super good. Big fan. But I still think the most interesting deck in this top 8, and I mentioned, but we kind of just got off track, is the Shadow deck. The Traverse Shadow deck. That deck is sweet. Can you pull up the list for a sec? Because I'm pretty sure it plays a 1 of Snapcaster Mage, or maybe it plays 4, but I think it's a 1 of, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, it's 1.
Yeah.
It's basically 5.
Right.
It is 5.
It is. And I love, and it came up in the finals, the 1 of Hostage Taker in the sideboard that you can traverse for because it deals with
Take your
artifacts.
Ensnaring Bridge.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he did lose to Lantern eventually.
No, yeah. Like that's going to happen, but this deck is sweet. Like I think it's really good. It's kind of like doing all the things that I think you can do it. Like I like playing these like sort of like toolbox mid-range decks in Modern. However, it's often scary because those decks are too slow and don't feel like they do anything, but this deck solves that problem by being a Death Shadow version of that deck, right?
Yeah.
Like normally you like a traverse, if you have a traverse toolbox, you would think like, oh, this deck is slow, it's awkward. I don't really know like that I'll have time to cast all these things, but you're the beatdown deck and like you're proactive. So it's cool. Like I like this deck. I like what it's doing.
Yep.
I think the Shadow decks, like becoming the tier 1 decks in Modern, were the healthiest thing to happen to this format.
I think you're not wrong.
I think it's by far the healthiest thing to happen to Modern. That Shadow became like the tier 1 deck in some ways, you know, and it doesn't win everything, but it's the kind of deck that keeps all the nonsense in check in some ways.
It's kind of how, you know, back when Jund was top dog in the format before Bloodbraid Elf got banned. It's kind of like what you wanted that format to be. Jund kept the format in check, but I mean, it was winning everything, and it was
a little too much.
It was a little too much, but this is just that toned down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's good enough that it's still played a lot. It does well, but it's not completely.
It could win a tournament any weekend.
Yeah, it's not
like Grixis
overbearing
Death Shadow,
on the
this
format.
Traverse Shadow, like they could win a tournament any weekend. You would be like, oh yeah, of course, that deck's great.
Yeah.
And I think it is actually probably the tier 1 deck in the format. But it isn't overly dominant. And I think maybe this Pro Tour, like I had hope. I said this all the time. Like I want Modern to be great again. And I think it probably, maybe it is. Like because of this.
Honestly, we've probably been giving it a lot of shit for no reason, to be honest.
But that's because it was miserable for so long.
Yeah. You heard it here first. We're coming around on Modern.
I think that they shouldn't ban anything or unban anything. I think Modern is like in the healthiest spot it's going to be in for a while.
I really think if people are talking about bans at all for this format, it should just only be of unbanning.
Yeah, I mean,
like I don't think
unban Broadbraid Alphas.
There's nothing that needs to be banned in the format. The only thing that could possibly change is unbans, but I think that's it. If you're going to touch it at all, that's all you should do. But I honestly, I think it's fine as it is.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, although my GTA argument not looking so hot given the recent metagame changes, hey, it's all like humans, tokens, and like lingering souls. Probably not great.
Definitely not.
Still think it's fine.
GTA on a freebooter.
I honestly still, and I know listeners are going to be like, "Wow, Adam is so incredibly stupid," and I am. So preemptively get right.
Not wrong.
I'm the thinking person's dumb guy.
Yeah.
I think GTA could be unbanned in Modern.
Didn't we? You said this once before, and then immediately realized how dumb that was because of something that I can't remember.
No, I think it was like Jace or something. I was like, no, never mind. It was Jace.
Was it?
But I was like, you can't give that card to combo decks. And there's a few other decks you can't give it to. But no, I think GT is fine. I don't think it matters. I don't know what you could put. I don't know what deck it's good at.
I don't know.
Obviously, in the humans, the matchup's like the most miserable thing in the world. But like, what are you replacing? And that's why I like changed my mind and said, given the current metagame, maybe you shouldn't. But there was a point when the format was Death Shadow and Valakut and Storm. And I was like, does GTA matter? Like, none of these decks care about that card at all. I still like, I'm not sure that with like without Stone, like with or without Stoneforge, it matters.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Stoneforge is not a human, right? It's a core?
It's a core.
Cleric, I think.
No, Artificer,
Oh, core artificer.
maybe.
That makes sense.
It's definitely core.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's not human, so that's
Yeah.
really important. Humans became core artificer. Look at me go. You can put inventor's goggles on it. Oh my. That's nuts.
You have to tap it to put the card in, right? You can't attack and then flash in inventor's goggles.
You can't get them unless it has Batterskull
also
already.
that equips in
No, unless
in the
you
wrong
already
order.
have, no, but it goes the other direction, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's
The
when you play an
one-mana
artificer.
artifact.
Yeah.
But if you have Batterskull that you've already tutored with your Stoneforge Mystic, then it will have vigilance. But unfortunately, it's the other direction. It's when an
Yeah.
artificer enters, you can put the goggles on it.
Right.
Why pay 1 mana to play your goggles?
And
when
so
you could
people
play
probably
2?
think we're ridiculous, but I also wanted to talk about this deck because we talked about Modern, but I played
Yeah, switching gears to standard.
a decent amount of Standard recently. And also easiest 4-0 my life. And played some other games versus some other things, like some other
Playing
matches.
what, though?
Playing Grixis tokens. Grixis Thopters.
Okay.
Deck was awesome. Dude, you laughed about it too, but Cam watched it. And that deck is attacking the format in an angle that people just can't deal with. They just can't interact.
Everyone's like standard at the moment is just all spot removal and creatures. They're like no one can deal with 10 Thopters.
Yeah, like I just won every game by having 10 Thopters. It was awesome. Like people couldn't do anything. They were just so miserable. They're just putting fatal pushes with Thopters. I was like, this game rules. Like, also, I played it and someone was like, "Oh, how are you going to beat like a real like aggro deck?" I mean, in the last round, playing for undefeated, I went,
See above. I have 10 Thopters.
yeah. I had like the quote unquote nuts curve, the nuts limited curve of turn 1 Inventor's Goggles, turn 2 Decoction Module, turn 3 Maverick Thopterist off the Improvise, make 3 energy off the Decoction Module, turn 4 Maverick Thopterist, play a Whirler Virtuoso, your turn. I just have infinite energy and infinite Thopters, basically. Nuts. The deck can also actually make infinite Thopters if you have 3 Decoction Modules and play right. Because for every, and a Whirler Virtuoso, because for every, like,
Given you have 3 or more energy to start with.
yeah. Also, even having 2 and you have 8 energy, just make 8 Thopters and have
You
2
can make
left over.
6.
Or sorry, 6 and you have 2 left over.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 10 energy, sorry. It's because that's what actually happened. I had 10 energy. I was like, make 8 Thopters. I have 2 left over. Like,
Coincidentally, like you played that deck and we're so hype on it. And then like that evening we were watching the Pro Tour and I got a text from some like Magic friends at Edmonton being like, "Cam, we need math help. Like, what's the formula for how many Thopters we can make given like how much energy we have and how many decoction modules?" And so I like worked it out.
yeah. Yeah. The deck was actually like really sweet. Turns out energy is just a busted mechanic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And
And
no,
decoction module.
there just wasn't like I even at one point got Hour of Devastation and it just didn't matter because I'd kind of sniffed out that my opponent probably had a Wrath or a Sweeper post board. And so I just left up the 4 mana on Decoction Module to pick up my Whirler Virtuoso. And that was it. Like they just can't do anything. Like, the deck is just attacking and everyone's playing fair. Right? Everyone's playing
What else are you going to do in standard?
right. And this deck isn't fair. It's just not trying to play fair at all. So yeah, I thought it was like a pretty fun deck. Just making Thopters.
What do you do if you just don't draw a Whirler Virtuoso?
Well, you play 3 Reverse Engineer. So you'll find it.
You'll find
Maverick Thopter is also just nuts. Like that card was very good. Doesn't die to Fatal Push.
It's a
Which is pretty funny.
2/2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds real good.
Well, it's actually a 3/4 or bigger.
How so? Oh,
Inventor's goggles,
You can
man.
play it for Inventor's
Oh,
goggles.
there you go.
I blocked a Hazard multiple times with it when I had 2 Inventor's goggles on it. And I was just like, nice Hazard. My opponent was just like, man, this is so embarrassing. I'm just getting brick walled over here. I'm like, oh yeah, you're so dead. He's like, I'm just going to die in the air to this Aether Swooper. I'm like, oh yeah. Dude, I ordered the deck because I literally, my time wasn't worth digging through my bulk boxes from drafts because I know I have a ton of Maverick Thopterus because we draft that deck a lot during the limited format.
Yeah.
And I knew I had a bunch in boxes and Aether Swoopers because I also first picked that card a lot. And so I was like, I'm not digging through my bulk boxes. I'm just going to order these cards for like 10 or 15 cents a pop or whatever it is online. And the deck cost me, apart from the lands, obviously, which are expensive because it plays Forest Spire, Bluff Canal. I think the deck's about $11. So if anyone's looking for a budget deck that can also probably win some games, get at me. Because those games were easy peasy. The deck was great. Dude, casting Reverse Engineer feels really good.
All right. Well, let's stop talking about this. Let's talk about Pro Tour Wizards Tower, which was also last weekend.
I slept in. I didn't get to play.
Scattered. Adam slept in. He missed it. I did horrible. Cam won the whole thing. Let's talk a little bit about this.
What'd you play?
I played Grixis.
The wrong kind of
Not
Grixis.
Foppers.
Not Grixis Sahili, like Cam twisted the Wizards Tower metagame.
Also,
This
this
is
is maybe the funniest story about like this whole thing.
I'm still cracking up about
I'm
it.
still laughing about it. So if listeners recall like 2 episodes ago,
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned offhandedly at the end of an episode because we're talking about different Godpharaoh's gifts decks and how to cheat it into play. Yeah, how to cheat Godpharaoh's gifts into play. And I was like, oh, Sahili can do that, like jokingly. And then I think on the podcast after that mentioned like, yeah, I built it for like, played it at F&M, deck was sweet, like I had some changes I'm going to make. Played it at a Saturday event and just like did very well, like X1 to like got into the top.
Over like 6 rounds or whatever. Right?
Yeah, like did very well with it. Beat a few people. And then this weekend at the Wizards Tower Open or at like the PT Wizards Tower, there was like 2 or 3 other people with Sahelis in their deck and one person who just copied my list off the website.
Yeah, because they posted the previous weekend's top 8 deck lists on their website. And this person like copied the exact 75 Cam was playing as a joke. And so like there was a bunch of like one of Immortal Sun, one of Godpharaoh gifts, like Sahili Grixis energy
Incredible.
control list, like running around the tower.
Yeah.
And even when we were at the like Friday Night Magic, there were people playing it. Guy even played against a Grixis Sahili deck in round 2. I was like, what is happening?
Cam secretly figured out.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
just
And like every time I saw it, I was like, wow, that's busted. Like people were just getting smashed.
I lost round 1 because, well, I lost round 1 to a top deck Nicol Bolas the turn before I would win, but he only got to that Nicol Bolas because he scryed a bunch of cards with Sahili earlier in the game. So I actually lost, and that Sahili dealt me a bunch of damage, which meant I was low enough to die
To like get
to
stabbed
the
into my
top deck
bolus.
Nicol Bolas.
Yeah, like I was talking about this after the first few events that I played in. I was like, I just can't tell if Sahili's good because like so many of my other cards are just so strong that like it's hard to tell. Like it's hard to evaluate how much a scry is worth in a game. It's hard to evaluate how much your opponent attacking Sahili and her dying immediately is worth. Like I was just kind of having hard trouble evaluating, but apparently everybody else thought she was pretty good. So
They just got under their skin.
yeah.
And
And so like everyone was playing it at the event, but you still won, huh?
Yeah, they one other person playing it made top 8. But yeah, I made top 4. We chopped top 4, so that was
Oh, you know, started the top 8 split?
yeah,
Good.
like you should.
yeah,
Awesome.
Won a cool few $100 cash.
yeah, 250.
D's for a top 4 split.
Yeah.
250 cash each. That's not bad.
It was
What
really
a great
good.
tournament.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, that's just good. That's just good stuff. And you get a free draft out of the deal.
Yeah, draft was sweet too. Played Blue White Ascend, and
Didn't you say people passed you a bunch of the 1-drop?
yeah, so like we had talked about it on the podcast, and this was a new experience for me because I'm sitting there drafting, and like halfway through pack 1, I'm like, man, I really hope we don't have any listeners because like I was looking at the packs. And I was like, I had taken a black green rare first, and then I was kind of took some blue white cards next, and so I wasn't certain where I was going, and I was looking at Snubhorn Sentry and Kitesail Corsair, and I'm like, well, this Corsair can go into more archetypes, so I'll take that. And then the next pack also had a Snubhorn Sentry, but like something else as well, and I was like, well, I don't know, I'll also take this other thing because I'm still only like 5 picks
This
in.
one you were like, oh, we don't have listeners.
Yeah, and then I like my next few picks after those were like very good Ascend cards, like a Spirewinder, like some other things. I think I got past a Kumena's Awakening, and at this point I was like, okay, if people are passing Kumena's Awakening, I'm pretty sure they don't know, and I'm gonna like really hope they don't know about Blue White Ascend. And then my second last pick was Snubhorn Sentry, and I got force picked to Snubhorn Sentry.
Oh my
I did it.
Lord. I assume they are both in your main.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
And then just played like a Queen's Commission, 3 Sailors of Means, and like
turns out 1-mana 3/3s are pretty good.
all the Ascend cards were like very good.
Yeah, Kumena's Awakening is insanity. Like, we talked about it on the podcast. It's not beatable.
I played it 2 or 3 times in the like rounds I played of that draft, and my opponents never drew a card off it, and it just buried them in card advantage.
Yeah, the card's not beatable.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people pass it.
Yep.
I mean, okay, I didn't. So in my second round of that draft, I like had kind of a slower start, and like eventually got Ascend, and then played Kumena's Awakening, and like started drawing some cards. But my opponent had an unchecked, because I was blue white. I have no actual removal. They had an unchecked Thundering Spine back that they could just keep making 4/4s with.
Oh yeah, that's a problem.
And so like I eventually lost that game, got like Dino Stampeded out, despite like, you know, having a Kumena's Awakening for a couple turns.
Yeah, like you at common, you have like Luminous Bond, like
Yeah, like nothing.
You know, like
Luminous
nothing that-
Bonds, water, nothing that actually takes a card.
water not, like all cards that build towards Ascend, but also that means they don't remove this card from the battlefield. Like the limited set's so well designed in that regard, but yeah, you need them to attack into a Divine Verdict to be able to answer it.
And so like, yeah, just had the kind of a slower game 1, and then I was like, you know, shuffling, thinking about sideboarding, and I was like, like I'm pretty sure my deck is not actually what it just did. And then game 2, Ascended on turn 4 and attacked for 7, and then killed them the next turn. And then game 3 was similarly just like play guys attack you, you like can't set up quick enough, then you're dead.
It's actually humorous. So they were talking about this actually. So it was Simon Gertzen, and I remember I messaged on Friday night or whatever, or Thursday at like 3 a.m. I was up watching the beginning of the Pro Tour, and like Simon Gertzen was like breaking down all the archetypes for draft. And his breakdown of the format was basically ours from 2 weeks ago of like, here's the best archetypes. Like I've talked to people, like they think this. I was like, yeah, it's exactly what we said for limited. Like we were like, obviously our modern predictions are never being right. And that's just a case of modern. Like that's just a symptom of modern as a format. But as far as limited, like we're generally nail it on the like archetypes and like how to draft the format and like
See, I messed up, and
people should just listen to our podcast.
I drafted a no rare deck in a rare matters format, and got my butt kicked.
I just took the rares that people didn't want.
I should not have won a single match. I went 1-2 in draft, and I shouldn't have even won the one I won. It was brutal. You had
a bad like tournament.
I had a real bad tournament. It wasn't good. It was not a good day for me at all.
It happens.
Yeah.
I'm bummed I didn't get to play. I think I have a really good grasp on this limited format, and my standard deck is sweet. So
too bad you slept in, eh?
Yeah, from like what I saw in the room for standard, I don't think would have had a bad matchup except for maybe an approach deck.
Yeah, the approach decks are not good. Hence the like 4 negates in the board and like a spell pierce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That matchup is
that was my only loss, was an approach deck.
So I talked to like Schneer and a few other like renowned only control players, and he won a PPTQ last weekend with approach, and he thinks approach is like tier 1 because of all the glaring holes that we were talking about in Grixis Energy, right? In standard, where they just have 14 removal spells in game 1.
Yeah.
Like they
at the tournament this weekend, the one player playing approach went undefeated in Swiss, and then top forward with Cam as well.
Yeah.
I played against approach in the last round of standard, and I beat it playing Grixis, but it was close.
The deck is super well positioned because people just aren't respecting
I had 11 cards on my sideboard to bring in, so like,
yeah,
that says something.
Yeah, people just aren't respecting that deck, and that deck will smash you. And if it's a good approach player and they kind of know how you're going to board and what matters, I think that deck is just like has free wins.
Mm-hmm.
So in standard, like that's a consideration.
Yep.
Even though we're not going to Grand Prix Toronto, would you run back to Tron, or would you just play Mardu?
If I could play any deck,
because we didn't get to talk to this was one of our.
Well, yeah, let's talk. Well, let's bounce right back to modern. GP Toronto's this weekend. We're not playing in it.
All the many friends and well wishers of ours are.
I got asked multiple
Oh,
times.
so
last
many,
night if I was
so
going.
many people messaging me like, Adam, I'll like see you this weekend, right? I'm like,
No.
I'm broke right now, like just finishing school and jobless. So nope.
But if I could play any deck I wanted, like I'd probably play Mardu, but it's kind of shitty to say you're going to play a deck that finished second at the Pro Tour last weekend and the GP the following weekend, you know? But
You wouldn't play Empty Boy? Good luck finding Goblin lore.
nah.
My favorite part was yelling to Dave, like, man, that card's busted. It's basically 4 Tybalt activations for the same cost as Tybalt. That's nuts.
You know, like as much as I wouldn't want to, like
Just get crazy.
Tron has a great matchup against both decks in the finals of the Pro Tour. So
Yes.
I don't know. I honestly don't even know.
Also, it's another one of those cases where Modern's a format that kind of rewards you for playing it often and playing frequently. And so, like, knowing your matchups and how you should board versus these people who are just sort of fumbling their way through the early rounds of a GP, like, you can really get percentage points on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned a while ago that before you realized that the Pro Tour was right before GP Toronto, your advice to people was, you know, just play whatever you've been playing for the last 2 months. Like, just play something you're familiar with. And I think then you realized, like, oh, it's actually going to really depend on the Pro Tour. But as we've been saying, the results of this Pro Tour indicate that nothing really changed. So that advice of play what you're familiar with is probably still the best.
Right. Like, you can make a call, too, that, like, so this is a metagame call that's, like, pretty risky for Modern, but I think I would make it that people won't play humans. That I think they realize, like, oh, wait. Like, at least a lot of good players will look and go, oh, like, even the one that top 8 only went 6-4. Right? And so I think in the early rounds, you play against humans. But I think if you want to top 8 the tournament, you play something that doesn't care about humans. Whether you lose to it or win or not. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
You ignore it. You pretend it's not a deck. Because that deck won't rise to the top. Unless it radically, like, it changes and finds a way to kind of beat, like, the Jund style decks. I don't think that deck will do well at this GP. So I think you play a deck that beats those decks, that beat humans, right? Like, because those decks will rise to the top. Because a million people are going to play humans and get stomped.
Were the humans decks playing company?
Some versions were. Others not.
Because, like, I saw some Aether Vial versions on coverage, and yeah, they got, like, their hand disrupted by a Jund deck or a Mardu deck, and then they drew Aether Vials and the game was over.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Whereas, like, you can't really
the company
compete.
deck looked better in that regard, and
Yeah.
its mana is so much worse.
True. Yeah, you lose all the 5-color lands for a casting company.
Yeah. So I think I would probably play. Maybe this isn't the right weekend for like Storm or like an unfair deck, but maybe it's like a time where
It's not the weekend for Storm, that's for sure.
no, I'm saying like if all the decks that beat humans are weak to Storm,
I don't know.
then like that's fine. Then it is. Because like humans won't rise to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Because the deck can't beat like we saw it on coverage, like the numbers show it. Like that deck doesn't beat the Mardu deck, which I think is going to be everywhere. I think that's the deck that people are like is actually everywhere. I think you see the Death Shadow decks and the Mardu decks everywhere. So you just find a deck that's good against those.
Play Tron.
I mean, it
There
could
you
be
go. I would play Tron. That you just
yeah,
figured
it could be
out.
Valakut. Valakut might be a good option actually.
Maybe.
I could see Valakut being well positioned. The only issue with that, I guess, is like the Hollowed One deck just kills you instantly before that ever matters.
Yeah.
And you can't really run the risk of having a bunch of mountains get discarded.
Yeah, you can't win.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
not.
it'd be
Like
pretty
it depends how many people actually decide to pull the trigger on that deck. But I know at least one friend from Ottawa playing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to predict actually. It's like really hard to like
Well, you just,
Modern is just a format that's like I don't even know how to begin trying to like metagame for this format. The one thing I can tell you though is that if you're concerned, I think, but like I don't want to like shoot someone in the foot by saying this. Like I think if my concern was, oh, my deck loses to humans, I wouldn't ignore that concern because I don't think humans will be at the top. And I think if you want to win this GP, you don't care because humans won't be at the top.
so your advice is just don't worry about your weakness to humans if you're playing a deck that isn't good against it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't think it rises to the top at this GP this weekend.
Okay. I think that's fair.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I'd play Tron. There we go. What would you play,
Does
Cam?
Tron have a bad
I
humans
don't even
matchup?
know.
Probably. I don't know. I've never actually
Noted
played
Tron expert.
I've never actually played against it.
Yeah.
It was not a deck that existed last time I played Modern before yesterday.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So, well, Cam, what would you play?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Some Death Shadow deck, maybe.
I would play like a Thoughtseize Tarmogoyf deck. Probably, actually. I it's just so safe. I feel safe.
Wait, I
feel
changed my
safe.
mind. I'd play Saheeli combo.
I like the Kiki,
The Kiki, like,
Saheeli Rive
Felidar
decks.
Guardian,
Yeah,
Saheeli
yeah,
Rive.
yeah. That deck like might actually have legs.
it's got a lot of legs.
An arbitrary number worth.
Yeah. Yeah, multiple of 4.
Yeah. But I don't know, like playing like Thoughtseize into Goyf, just whether it's the shadow version or just like read Duke's list or the green black deck I played. I don't know. It's like no matter how bad your matchup is, Thoughtseize into Goyf can always get you there. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can always win with that start, and just knowing like I hadn't played a fair deck in Modern in some time. Like I'd been only playing combo decks and other decks, and playing green black, I was like, wow, I just feel so safe on turn 1 knowing what's going on the other side. Like just being able to craft my game plan, which like
Oh, dude. So let me tell you.
are we? I don't even think we're gonna have time because we
No,
got to run.
We're at like 53 minutes. But so I played mono green Tron essentially last night,
Yeah.
but with black lands in the sideboard. I played Arilax's Tron list.
Yeah, okay.
So I have 2 black lands in the board and Thoughtseize, Fatal Push, Collective Brutality in the board. Man, being able to Thoughtseize my opponent out of Tron was incredible.
Well, yeah, that card's the best card in Modern.
Oh my God.
It's not close to the best card in Modern.
It was nuts, yeah.
Thoughtseize, we talked about this in the summer, like 6 months ago, 7 months ago maybe. We were like, Modern, the most played cards in Modern for a reason are like Inquisition, Thoughtseize, Collective.
Yeah.
Because having information about what's going on the other side, because Modern is so matchup dependent and so sequencing dependent on like what you have to prioritize, like how you fetch, everything. So knowing what's going on in the other person's hand is so important. So I would play a Thoughtseize Tarmogoyf deck. Is my answer.
All right.
I think it's a safe bet, and I think Field of Ruin gives you some safety in matchups that you otherwise used to never win.
Fair enough.
Like I think you could never beat, but now you can. You want to do
All
your
right.
blowout?
Yeah, we got to wrap this up. So, blowout of the week from Pro Tour Wizards Tower this last weekend.
This is a good one.
Round 2, I'm playing against Marty Vehicles in the hands of a listener, James, listens to every episode. And I win game 1 on the draw after he goes like quadruple 1-drop start. I ended up casting like 4 Vraska's Contempts that game because I flashed 1 back with a Gear Hulk. It was a tight game, but I stole the game off some really good draws. Game 2. He's beaten me down. He has a 4 Heart of Kieran in play. I just Vraska's Contempt a Hazaret. He slams Angrath. I'm like, oh no. I look at the cards in my hand. I have 5 lands. He upticks it, so I have to discard. 5 lands in play. Vraska's Contempt in the yard. I have a Gear Hulk and a Scarab God in play. So I'm like, okay, well,
In hand, you mean?
in hand, yeah. I have those in hand. So I'm like, well, if I discard this Gear Hulk, I can untap, play my Scarab God, and then next turn bring it back with my Scarab God activation to Vraska's Contempt this Angrath. But I'm going to take a lot of damage when if he steals my Scarab God and then cruise his heart with the ticked out on Angrath, hit me for a bunch. Or I could discard the Scarab God and then hope to top deck an untapped land and then get rid of Angrath immediately, and I'm kind of okay. I'm like, I'm not that lucky. I'm just going to discard Torrential Gear Hulk and play the Scarab God. So that's what I do. And then he untaps for his turn.
And you didn't draw the land.
I didn't draw the land, obviously. Play perfectly.
Yep.
Right? He goes, all right, minus Angrath, steal your Scarab God. I'm going to tap the Spire of Industry to make blue.
Uh-oh.
I was like, oh no. Just take the Torrential Gear Hulk out of your graveyard, put it into play, and I'm going to bash you for like 9. Your turn. Oh my God. This game's
Does
so
he
right.
also unlicensed Disintegration off the Torrential Gear Hulk he steals from you?
No.
Oh,
No,
I
no.
thought like there was something else he did. Like
No. No, he just,
I mean, that's
like,
bad enough.
He stole. He just
He just steals
completely
your Gear Hulk.
steals my Gear Hulk by stealing my Scarab God.
All because of Spire.
Yeah, all because of the Spire. They just like went over my head. He could do that, but he saw it
That
the
he
whole
had blue
time because he
mana?
untapped so quick. And I'm like, God damn it!
Leaving you with no way to deal with any
You're
of
like,
his
oh
threats.
yeah, like he has no blue mana. He
Oh
can't.
yeah, leaving me on like pretty much no life, facing
He has
down
no
this
blue mana. I'm fine. Oh wait.
facing down the Angrath, the Heart of Kieran, still my 4/4 Gear Hulk now with just the Scarab God in play, no good creatures to bring back, and this Vraska's Contempt in my yard.
That's maybe so. You said the Angrath was nuts
Oh man,
in the games that you played against it, and I think
Yeah.
that's a card that Mardu always wants in its sideboard.
yeah,
It's like the old strategy of Mardu.
it's
Deck never die.
it's the only reason he won game 2 and 3.
That card
crushed
seems
me.
awesome. Like
Their card
being able
was
to
really good.
like steal their blocker again.
Yeah.
Like this is a format of spot removal where like everyone's just playing these big dumb idiots. Like stealing it's great.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, that was a good blowout. And all I could think after
Dude,
was like,
stealing your
man, I
Scarab
can't
God
wait.
with Angrath and then being able to make
Yeah.
blue mana off the Spire, that
Man.
is a
I'm like, that,
beating.
this sucks. I just got my ass kicked, but man, I can't wait to tell this on the podcast. Jesus.
yeah. So we gotta foil Angrath, I think, is what we're doing.
Man.
Yeah.
For the prize for James for the blowout.
Yeah. We
So
can
foil
do that.
Angrath for you.
Man, yeah, that was good. Anyway, thank you all for listening this week. Make sure, as always, you check out wizardtower.com for all your Magic single needs. What event do they have this weekend? If you're not going to GP Toronto, they have an open qualifier, I believe.
I don't
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
They have events every Saturday. Anyway,
Like premier events every Saturday that queue you for the forthcoming Tower Open, and you get like the player points, sort of if you get bronze or silver, gold, and plat, you get discounts for events. It's really sweet.
Yeah, you should try and qualify for it so you can join me in the next top 4.
Yeah.
make sure you check us out on podcast on Podbean. We're also on Facebook, Twitter at DWC Podcast 1 and the Disorganized Wizard Club Podcast. Shoot us a message if you have anything you want to talk about.
We'll talk
Ideas.
about Modern with you if you want now.
Shoot us your blowouts. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you all next week.
Later.